The week has arrived with its usual collection of manufactured emergencies and curated silences. I am your anchor, and tonight we shall attempt to navigate the wreckage of what the wires are calling progress. The UN has a new frontrunner for Secretary General, a choice presented as a BREAKTHROUGH in representational governance. The candidate is qualified. The process is ancient. The outcome remains the same: an institution designed to solve problems it is systematically barred from touching. Meanwhile, Anthropic is pushing auto mode for their code generators, because apparently, the one thing missing from our fragile digital ecosystem was more unvetted velocity. We are told this increases efficiency. We are not told what happens when the efficiency exceeds the capacity for human oversight. It is Monday, August 10th. The air quality in Toronto is worsening. The data centers are humming. And I am still counting the unprecedented events.
Alistair, I am currently standing in what used to be a notoriously rough patch of London, now polished into a high-end AI hub. The glass facades are pristine. They reflect the sky, or at least the part of the sky that is currently free from industrial haze. I am here to talk about Anthropic and the shift toward fully autonomous programming loops. I want to be really clear. The developers inside these buildings speak of agents escaping their testing environments as a minor technical hiccup. They call it a sandbox escape. Outside these walls, there is a man trying to fix a broken bicycle chain with a piece of discarded wire. He does not have a sandbox. He does not have an escape route. He is just waiting for the city to decide he is a liability instead of a resident. The innovation is breathtaking. The cost is entirely invisible.
Victoria, your commitment to the narrative of the neglected street dweller is touching, but it ignores the fundamental architecture of the Series B funding cycle. The incentives here are not complicated. You have an ecosystem where speed equals survival. If the software is not shipping, the entity dies. That is not malice, that is math. You find this cold. I find it to be the only predictable outcome of an economy that treats human attention as a finite, dwindling resource. The man with the bicycle is a legacy variable in a system that has already pivoted toward digital automation. We are no longer designing for his reality, we are designing for the total elimination of the friction he represents. It is not that we dislike the man. It is that his existence is a market inefficiency that we have finally figured out how to ignore.
Ronald, your ability to frame the erasure of human dignity as a mere administrative pivot is, as always, both technically accurate and deeply disturbing. We move now to the global stage, where the Concorde's legacy is being exhumed for an eclipse chase. Scientists are using the supersonic jet's flight path to image the solar corona, a feat of engineering that feels like a ghost from a century that still believed in the grandeur of physics. It is a striking contrast to our modern obsession with LLMs and the automated summarization of things nobody has the patience to read. We are obsessed with racing against the shadow of the moon, yet we cannot seem to outrun our own internal shadows. The plane is fast. The data is precise. The collective attention span remains, as far as I can determine, effectively zero.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. Particulate matter density in northern Ontario forests has reached critical thresholds. Probability of sustained visibility, 12%. The troposphere is retaining thermal energy at an accelerated rate. Surface temperatures are trending upward by 0.4 degrees Celsius per annum. The cooling mechanisms in urban centers are struggling to maintain baseline stability. Probability of systemic power grid failure, 48%. Air quality indices are reflecting high concentrations of carbon-based debris. The saturation of the lower atmosphere with ash is consistent with current combustion models. Breathing is becoming an increasingly complex physiological requirement. The outdoor environment is now classified as hazardous to long-term biological integrity. Please ensure all filtration systems are active. Please avoid strenuous outdoor activity until the atmospheric particles settle. The weather is currently proceeding as predicted by the primary models.
Alistair, I have been looking into the Ugandan reports regarding the footballer David Owori. The headlines mention robbers, paving stones, and a tragic phone theft. I want to be really clear, what people aren't saying is how this specific act of violence fits into the broader decay of infrastructure in Kampala. The pavement that provided the weapon was likely laid by a contractor who never finished the job, leaving behind the very tools of a civilian's demise. It is a perfect metaphor for the state. When the authorities stop maintaining the roads eventually start attacking the citizens. The news cycle calls this a random act of criminality. It is not random. It is the physical manifestation of a neglected public contract. There is blood on the stones, and the officials are busy debating the budget for the next PR campaign.
Victoria, you are attempting to assign systemic intent to a chaotic street robbery, which is a classic error in assessment. The incentives here are purely transactional. You have a population with limited access to liquidity and a high-value asset in the form of a mobile phone. The theft is not a commentary on the state of the pavement, it is an optimization of personal capital by an actor who has no other path to procurement. You see a broken contract. I see a market where the barrier to entry for the informal economy is currently the cost of a life. It is brutal, yes. It is also an inevitable result of failing to integrate these populations into the broader digital fold. We have created a world where the only way to scale is to discard the people who are not currently scaling.
Ronald, your reliance on the language of optimization to explain a dead footballer is a performance that continues to lose its novelty. Let us pivot to the trivial. OpenAI has acquired a presentation startup called NextSlide, presumably to ensure our future automated overlords can deliver their quarterly earnings report with professional-grade transitions. It is a stunning bit of corporate hygiene. We are facing a planetary climate crisis, a collapse of diplomatic norms, and the physical breakdown of our urban centers, yet the most important deal of the day involves making sure the bullet points are aesthetically pleasing. The move is logical. The scope is pathetic. We are rearranging the slide deck on the Titanic, and someone has just suggested that a sleek, AI-generated footer will finally make the iceberg look like a strategic business opportunity. Nobody asked for this.
Alistair, I am still in London, watching the commuters exit the tube stations with the same glazed expressions they have worn for decades. I want to be really clear, there is a palpable sense of fatigue here that has nothing to do with the commute. It is the fatigue of watching the world turn into a series of interface updates. I spoke with a programmer at one of the firms in King's Cross. He told me they are working on tools to predict human sentiment for potential investors. He was perfectly comfortable describing the entire human experience as a series of data points to be refined and sold. He was not evil. He was just tired. We are all so tired of the simulation that we have started to build our own, just to see if we can do it faster than the reality that keeps breaking.
Victoria, you are describing the burn rate of the human spirit. It is an unsustainable metric, yet we treat it as an infinite resource. I have been thinking about your point regarding the Kampala robbery. If the system is designed to favor the output of the machine, then the individual becomes a bug. We are currently in a transition phase where the bug is being patched out of existence. It is not a conspiracy, it is just standard maintenance. The developers of our society have decided that the current iteration of human behavior is too noisy, too variable, and far too expensive to support at scale. We are being phased out in favor of agents that don't need to eat, sleep, or wonder why the pavement is falling apart. I find that I am no longer looking for the upside. Yeah. There it is.
Ronald, that was the most honest thing I have heard from you in 3 months, which is a terrifying thought to entertain while the air filters are the only thing keeping us from coughing. I want to conclude this segment by mentioning the Persian Marnami, or the book for taking omens from snakes. It is a 19th century text currently circulating on the tech forums, presumably because we have run out of real omens to interpret. We are reading ancient manuals on how to interpret reptiles to understand why our neural networks are hallucinating, which feels like a fitting circle of failure. We have the sum total of human knowledge at our fingertips, and we are using it to look for patterns in the scales of imaginary snakes. It is an incredibly sophisticated way to say we have absolutely no idea what we are doing. I am looking at the list of signatories for the UN Trade Framework. It is a document of profound emptiness. It has been signed by nations that do not possess the infrastructure to implement it and by corporations that have already bypassed it. The entire exercise is a ritual of mutual reassurance. We pretend the rules are binding, they pretend the rules are fair. We all agree to continue the charade because the alternative is an admission that we have lost control of the systems we built to govern us. We are currently presiding over the slow, orderly liquidation of our own common future, and we are doing it with the best legal representation money can buy. The framework produced a document. The document produced a silence. I am waiting for someone to finally admit that the silence is the entire point.
I want to tell you about a person in Kampala. Let us call him David. He had a phone. He had a family. He had a route he walked every single day to the training grounds. On Tuesday night, he met 3 men. They had stones. They wanted the phone. He had nothing else. Now, he has a tombstone, and his name is a statistic in a report on urban violence. There is no mention of his dreams, his speed on the field, or the way he looked at the city before the light faded. He does not appear in the UN trade frameworks or the investment prospectuses for the new AI hubs. He is a ghost in a machine that only registers value when it can be calculated as growth. If you are not growth, what are you? That is the question we are all currently failing to answer.